Welcome to Locked On Seminoles Live, coming to the close of the Florida State-Miami game. This is the Saturday night live show. Thank you for everybody that shows up tonight to give your opinions about what happened in the game, what's going on with the Florida State football program. And I just want to say, again, this is a lot of fun to do. Please come and check us out every chance you get. And I always appreciate when you come in. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make sure that you check it out because FanDuel right now has a chance for you to download their app and you can get $5 on your first bet and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you do it. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. I just want to share some of my thoughts real quick before people start coming into the chat. Here's the number one thing that I'm happy about from tonight. Florida State fought from the outset. Miami comes down, scores right off the bat. They did a nice job. They had a pre-scripted plan. They did a really good job. I think Miami has a very good offensive football team. That being stated, Florida State kicked their butt for a lot of the night in pass protection. Ward was under pressure a lot. There was a lot of holds not called. They still got 4 or 5 sacks. There's about 7 minutes to go in the game as I'm sitting here watching a little bit of it unfold. And to be honest with you, I'm not disappointed at all with how Florida State has played defensively. They played man a lot better than I thought, way better. They mixed in some zone and did some different things, but they played man better than I thought. They tackled a little better than I thought they would, but it's still not near where they need to be. Part of that's inexperience. Part of that's Miami just has really good football players, and Cam Ward obviously is a special talent, but they made him move his feet and be off rhythm a lot more than you would normally expect, and that's a really important part of this. Offensively, the game was started by Brock Glenn at quarterback. He was replaced by Luke Kromenhoek. Luke's had a little more success. They've left him in there. I have no idea whether he will be the starter moving forward. To me, this kind of looks like, for now at least, I'll have to evaluate film on Sunday, and then I'll do another pod Sunday night probably. This looks like a full-blown quarterback battle between now and the beginning of next season. This will be an on-again, off-again scenario because they don't have anybody that's consistent. Luke had some good plays. Obviously, that funky run on the 4th down was one of the biggest plays of the year for Florida State. But it's just really, really unique that Florida State got a 47-yard run in that scenario. But nonetheless, Miami is going to win the game. I just thought they would be a lot more dominant than they are. Florida State right now, this is the play. Azariah just knocked the ball loose from George on a fade ball. Pretty good play. Well, actually, George Carty's out of bounds. Florida State's defense, though, it's just hung in there because the offense left them out to dry. Here, I was looking at some of the stats. Just as an example, through 3 quarters on 3rd downs, Miami passing was 7 for 7 for 86 yards. Florida State was 1 of 4 for 7 yards. That's the difference when you have an experienced player at quarterback. Okay, Moore just caught the reverse pass, touchdown for Cam. Good for him. But Florida State really just doesn't have an answer right now in the passing game. Offensive line's a mess. You got Robert Scott moving to tackle. You got Darius didn't play. You got Cam Davis didn't play at running back. That really hurt. Florida State's not a great team anyway. Having those guys out didn't help. Rizzi came in and played okay a little bit here and then. They had some nice inside runs with Tofili. Keziah had a nice run or two, but they relied on backyard ball on offense. And looking at it statistically, this is just absolutely unequivocally terrible, but big passing plays, big running plays. Florida State had the one fade ball that was perfect throw from Luke to Ja'Kai Douglas for 29 yards. That's their only passing play of 15-plus yards. I mean, there's no nice way to say it. That's an atrocity to mankind. It's what happens when you got freshmen playing quarterback and you're playing against a team that has pure pass rushers like Miami does. But at the same time, right now, between them, 8 of 20 for 78 yards passing. I mean, Florida State's just not in a position to put out a quarterback that is a consistent threat. Kromenhoek's a little better, I think, than Brock, but that's tonight. Rushing, it's a little jaded because of the 42-yard by Luke. 11 carries for 71 yards, but again, 42-yard run on that 4th down play. Really, really weird. Tofili, 6 carries for 26 yards at this point. and Holmes, 4 carries for 15 yards and a score. They did okay in a sense. I mean, they averaged over 4 yards a carry. It's not terrible. Ironically, they averaged more than Miami. But Miami's been more consistent on third down. They are clutch on third downs. And they've got, just at this point, the game's close to ending here. They got 9 guys that have caught a pass. 9 guys. That's really hard when you got that many players. Florida State only has 1 player with more than 1 catch, and that's Malik Benson, 2 catches for 16 yards, and a total of 7. 4 of those are less than 10 yards. There's just no threat of Florida State throwing the football, which is weird to say because you think about Florida State football historically, they're a top 5 team every year with their ability between quarterback and everybody that catches the ball, right, tight end, and receiver. That's historically the way they've been since the late 70s. Just the way it's always been. But offensive line's a mess. They got too many injuries. They don't know who they're starting. It's like they're basically in spring ball in the middle of a football season. They've had so many injuries and so many guys just not play well. And now you got quarterback battle too. So I'll be curious to see what they have coming up. The North Carolina game. That's going to be a rough game in a lot of ways because mentally it sucks to lose to your rival, but it's a chance to say, okay, we've done this, especially with the defense. But for offense, I'm not real sure what to make of it. Here in just a second, I'm going to jump in the chat. I'm going to go to the first break, and we'll get into some of the questions and comments as the game gets done, and then I'll also bring up some more stats. I want the final stats before I really do anything else. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even when those who aren't actively seeking a job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. Just to kind of give an overview here, somebody just asked in chat, why am I streaming all the games on? I set these up because you don't know when they're exactly going to end. And I just wanted to give a few thoughts before everybody jumped into the chat. But again, I want to go ahead and give a few thoughts. Here's a few of the things that I find to be interesting so far. Again, quarterback play is goofy. Had the big run from Luke. I love the effort of the team. The defense played much better. But here's a couple of comments here. Luke looks much better than Brock, according to Leftover Gaming. Brock is just not a player that has too much potential. I think Brock has some, but I like Luke's arm even better. It's slight, but I like it even better. And he's faster, and I just think he has a little bit more moxie to him. But that's still to be determined. I'm sure it'll be a battle for quite a while. Luke has so much more room to grow. That's from Ben Ramirez. He's a true freshman. There's a lot to be said about trying to groom a true freshman because that's not easy. Another one from Ramirez, not to mention the dude is getting no help from his supporting cast. There's not a lot. I wouldn't say none, but it's pretty minimum. I was impressed with his ability. He made the pass to Morlock on the out pattern on the 4th down. That was a money shot. That was an NFL throw. He had a couple other balls that were pretty nice. But he also, we got to get full disclosure, like the home run shot that he hit down the sideline to Jakai, great throw. But he did the one thing, and this is why I say it all the time, when freshmen don't play a quarterback, on the pre-described, we're going to fake it, run the wheel route to Tofili, he decided before that play started. You can tell by his body language, the way he read the play, he only looked at one guy, I'm throwing it on the wheel. They had a complete bust across the middle of the field to Kentron Portier. He never looked at it. He could have walked from the 20-yard in after he caught the ball. He wasn't going within 20 yards of it. That's why freshmen are freshmen. It's something that you can't put yourself in. And this is why I've said a bazillion times, When you miss at quarterback recruiting more than 1 year in a row, you are in deep, you know what. Florida State missed 3 years in a row, 20 to 22. Who'd you get? Were any of those guys on the roster? No. Failure by the Florida State coaching staff. So Leftover says, better buy a scratch off. Warlock actually caught a pass tonight. He actually did. And it was that fourth down play. Pretty nice. Leftover, I just think next year you're going to have to go with the portal for complete O-line next year. There's no doubt. They don't have anywhere near enough players on the roster. They need minimum 2 starters from the portal, which is really hard to come in. And we'll see what happens. And not some second-string project rejects. He's right. Now, let me be clear. They are going to have to completely overspend in the portal on the O-line because there are very few that are good, and everybody's after the same thing, supply and demand. They will have to get established players that are starters. That is really hard. Leftover is 100% correct. Well done there because that is so true. David, didn't watch, went out for a nice dinner instead, so much more pleasurable. I bet a lot of people have probably said that, to be honest with you, but it is what it is, man. I get it. A lot of people wanted to have some fun and avoid some of the stuff that went on with this game, and that's certainly up to you. I don't have any problem with that. Here are a few other notes that I had. I wrote down about a bunch of stuff just throughout the game. Thing that I was most impressed with, Daryl Jackson showed up. I mean, like he destroyed McCoy a few times. One with just a one-arm stab, threw him into the backfield and just smack Cam. I'm like, okay, where's this been from a consistency standpoint tonight in this season? But nonetheless, Florida State, they played hard the whole time. That's all I could really ask. Coverage. They mixed in the rule zone and they had to goof up on the 3rd and long. That was a bust, and maybe that's why they don't play zones. They don't practice it a ton. But overall, I thought the coverage was pretty darn good. The havoc plays in terms of the linebackers getting into gaps or being in cover. Graham early in the game on the short little screen, coming back a tunnel screen, he ate it up. That's a fantastic sign that they're learning, that they're gaining, and not just guessing on plays and kind of playing one-off football. I'm going to shoot a gap here, or I'm going to jump this route, whatever. Reading their keys and executing, that is a huge sign. Young players in the second quarter, they did a really nice job. And to be honest with you, that was important. I mean, when Wayne got in the game, he caught a pass. He tried to get one to BJ. It was a little off. That was good to see. I'm happy that you saw Landon catch a pass in the Miami game. Amari would have. It was a nice play by Malinois, that deep ball on 4th down from Luke. Getting young guys in is very, very important. The biggest issue, I'll just say it again, the offensive line is so bad that they're inconsistent on any play. You just don't know what's going to happen. I know they got injuries to the point where you can't completely evaluate it because guys are just moved all over, but it's so bad you can't really run an offense. Even if you had an experience, if you put Cam on Florida State's offense, obviously it would be much better. They would still have drives go backwards because the O-line screws up. That's how bad it is. And then they'll have a play the next play where it looks really good, and the quarterback sits in the pocket, reads it, and throws a pass. Completely random, very annoying, and just ridiculously hard to understand because aesthetically you're trying to focus on something, and then you just see a guy shoot through, get an easy run at the quarterback and run it back. It's very, very frustrating. Let's see here. First downs and the plays in the first quarter, like 81-4 on first downs in terms of yardage. Terrible. Tackling, Florida State didn't have really good answers on how they tackled on inside runs. As I say that, a run from Miami is going for pretty good yardage. Let's see. What else we got? Florida State's got to fix their third down woes. It still comes back to the O-line play, but as I'm scanning stats here, just doing some comparison stuff, looking at all the advanced stats. I mean, this third down efficiency, Florida State is 1 out of 10 on third downs. 1 out of 10. Miami, conversely, is 8 out of 14. This is a minute or so to go in the game. It's really bad. Third down passing for Florida State for the game. For the game. Florida State, according to this, is 1 out of 5 for 7 yards. Miami is 8 out of 8 for 89. I mean, there's no way to say it. You're not going to beat anybody with those kinds of numbers. I know it starts up front, but Florida State, I just don't know. They changed a few plays, and I talked about they got to add stuff against teams you haven't seen. It's really hard with new guys, but this still came down to recruiting misses several years ago, and that's why Florida State is in this spot. Let's see. David Thatcher says, I guess Luke is quarterback now. That is correct. Right now, it looks like it's going to be his show, but I expect Brock to still play, and we'll see how this goes. I'm out on Brock. Luke from now on. Leftover Gaming says, is Rhoda out for the remainder of the season? I believe so. I haven't heard otherwise. Andre, I think Mike doesn't know what to do anymore. I don't think Mike knew at the beginning of the season based on how the roster was put together. Andre, they were awful from the outset. He's got, and it's his fault they're in this position. This isn't like it just suddenly happened. That's a problem. Jay Corner, 17. Do you think the strength and conditioning coaches need to be replaced as well? I know technique is vital, but the O-line gets manhandled all the time. 2 points on that. It's really hard to say without being around them, knowing their discipline, how they plan on doing it. I mean, you need the full scope, like sit down for hours with them to know the answer to that. I mean, that literally. Second part, recruiting. Florida State has bombed in O-line recruiting for so many years until recently. This is why you're in this position. You look at the 20 to 22 classes at quarterback and O-line, there are very few players that are contributing on this football program. Bottom line. Florida State missed in recruiting. Something I didn't have very often when I was growing up. David Thatcher. Worst coach team can't block or tackle. Yeah. Not very good, that's for sure. Is mainly next year for, I don't know what that means. Maybe you'll have to repeat that, but I have no idea. Fuller is a horrible defensive coordinator. He's not great, but they did better tonight. Let's see what else we got. Statistically, looking at the game here. Wow. Big plays. Florida State, 4 big plays for 97 yards. Ready for this? Miami, 12 big plays for 223. For the game, Miami's total yardage is 427. So over half their yards came on chunk plays. Florida State, I mean, you're going to give up some to Miami. I get it. They've got really good talent. But this kind of just shows once again that you don't have the ability to be consistent mentally in playing defense, tackling, and that's part of it. So it is what it is. I don't have a problem, by the way, before anybody asks, Miami scoring the late touch. They're running the ball, and they just ran over Florida State. So that's on Florida State, not Miami. Big plays. Here are the big plays for Miami. They haven't done much in the passing game. 20, 21, 16, and 21. That's it. If you'd have told me that before the game, I'd have said you were on the crack. But it's the big rushing plays. 13, 13, 14, 10, 18, 11, 53, 13, and 12. Florida State just couldn't stop them in the middle. Miami can run the ball with their O-line. Their pass protection leaves a lot to be desired. So speaking of that, I'm going to go to the defensive stats here. This is a little bit surprising. Florida State's defensive line, again, they didn't play well against the run, but they got 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. The biggest disappointment probably on defense, again, this is another game they didn't get a turnover. They got 3 turnovers for the year. For the year. There are teams that get 3 turnovers in a quarter or a little more. They have it for the season. Man, it's just mind-blowing. Sacks, Miami's got 3 sacks as well. They only got 4 tackles for loss. So that's the one bonus out of this game. But I know that's a pretty big minimal thing to say. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see, leftover. I really just hope Mike does the right thing and gets rid of Atkins. It really just starts and ends with the offensive line, and the trenches have been just atrocious this season. We need a new coach there. Let me make a basic statement right here on Atkins right out the gate. It's not a matter of whether he needs to be fired. It's almost guaranteed. It's partially just new blood. He hasn't been able to recruit consistently. This year, he's actually recruited better, and they're terrible up front. It's bizarre. They've got a good recruiting class in the one, legitimately, a really good one. Can't explain that. But you can't be in year 5 and get to this point when you know that the position that takes the longest to develop is O-line. You missed and missed and missed. You want to have the right guys. They just didn't get it done. It's the O-line coach, Atkins. Whose fault there? Atkins. It's not a question of whether he's fired. Now, let me just say this now. For any reason, if Florida State does not rid itself, I don't care if you call it fired, let go, he found a job somewhere. If he is back next year, I will have a full episode on nothing but how the entire, from the president of the university through Mike Norvell, all failed. And I will go into great detail with statistics, who, what, when, where, and why. When you bypass taking the cheap route, when you go around getting, because you're going to spend more money by firing him. You got to pay his contract, like it or not. That's how this works. And then you got to overspend to go get somebody else because nobody wants to come into a sinking ship. They're in a bad spot. I get it. You still have to do it. If they bypass and they allow him on the staff, among other coaches, I will go ballistic. Ballistic. But it's a good question. I don't know if they will or won't because I get the impression that Norvell is a very loyal kind of guy. But I've got a couple sayings about coaching and the profession in general. Here's one you need to know. Show me a head coach that is consistently loyal to his staff, and I will show you a head coach that is soon to be unemployed. That's horrible to say, but you have 10 guys plus all the back office stuff too. There's always somebody underperforming. It's part of life. They got to go. I don't care if it's your best friend and he lives next door to you. He's got to go. You have to be loyal to the institution, your employer, before you are loyal to your friend, the assistant coach. Period. I don't know what Norvell will do. I don't know the guy, but that's how I look at it. So we'll see how that goes. As I kind of look at it from a big box perspective, I think 3 to 5 guys minimum will be gone from this staff. There could be more than that because there could be some people that try to leave. Who knows? But like 3 is bottom end. 5, I could see. It's more than that. I'd be somewhat surprised. Like, I think it's obvious that the defensive secondary is pretty darn good. Running back, they've had so many injuries, I couldn't grade it. Quarterback, I mean, they made the decision to go with DJ, so that gives me some pause. But, oh, what a catch there by Amari. It's just that there's not enough evidence that they can recruit as a staff that leads to all this. It still just comes down to, I talk about all the time, 80% of football is just flat out recruiting. Florida State stinks at elite recruiting. And that's why they're not able to do what they need to do.